This will be fun. Now you see me. Now you don't. Look behind you.
Ladies and gentle jesters, welcome to the circus. Here it is. Sprinkles coming at you with a SHACO support guide. Now I want you to imagine that you're mid-lane, happily farming, when you look to your right, and you see this flopping towards you. We'll go over how you do that little clone bug a bit later on, but let's just check out my favourite champ in League, SHACO. There are some base stats if you care. Here's his little wiki pick. And oh, what's this? He's a fucking support. Q. Alright, let's run down his abilities, starting off with his Q, Deceive. Upon cast, SHACO teleports a short distance, making his attack deal extra damage. What's important to note here is that placing a box or using his ulti won't break this invisibility. As the Q level increases, so does the invisibility duration. Moving on to his next ability is W, Jack in the Box. Now the trick to this ability is all thanks to Mr. John Venn. Mimic these Venn diagrams and you'll have a fabulous time playing this champ. Using this spell places a trap that will stealth after 2 seconds. When it triggers, it fears all nearby enemies within a short circle. The trap duration scales with increased ability power. The fear duration also increases with the skill level. The fear radius is actually slightly larger than indicated. Next up we got SHACO's E, 2 Shiv Poison. SHACO throws a shiv at his target, dealing magic damage and slows by 30% for 3 seconds. If the target of the ability has less than 30% health, the ability does loads more damage. This spell also has a passive element where, while the ability is on cooldown, SHACO's attacks slow enemies by 30% for 2 seconds. For his ultimate, SHACO momentarily slips into the next dimension, reappearing shortly after with a clone of himself. This clone is controllable via the R key or alt right clicking. This will be important a bit later. This clone lasts for 18 seconds and will detonate upon timeout or its death. Upon detonation, it will fear in a large circle, deals massive magic damage, and spawns 3 mini Jack in the Boxes that will all fire away onto your enemies. Finally, SHACO's passive, Backstab. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory. You deal more damage when you're stabbing him in the back. Alright, now you're all up to date on his abilities. You're gassed up, you just want to lock in SHACO, but let's discuss some runes for a bit. Here are the runes I usually run. With the AD runes, the AP runes, and the hybrid runes. Now, we're finally in the Rift. What am I going to be buying? Well, shout out to all the tankos, the AD lethality, crit builders, mate, can build everything. But here's what I personally like to build. This is my AP build, focusing on ability haste as always. And here's the hybrid build. Now if you're AP, or you decided not to do the AD Q gank level 1, we can talk about Lucian. Starting with your boxes, you immediately want to run from base and place a box at one of the 2 entrances to your bot side buff. There are 2 main methods of Lucian. In my preferred method, put in 1 box at the buff and 3 boxes at the next camp that the jungler will be doing. On blue side, you'll have to communicate with the jungler to kill the small Krug when it's low enough. Or you can straight up put 3 boxes on the buff to speed kill that buff for early invade junglers such as Kindred, J4, etc. For AP, as long as you drop in your first box around 43 seconds to the buff spawns, and your subsequent boxes off cooldown on the next camps. Over at red side, it's practically the same thing, just mirrored. Checking the duration of the traps and lining them up with the buff spawning and placing the later boxes on the grump. Doing this routine, you should be able to give your jungler the best leash and still get back to the wave for the XP. Moving on to the lane and early game, here are some examples of where I like to place boxes in the lane. These cover main entrances to the lane and or bush control if needed. You can always place boxes in the route of enemy minions to delay their wave crash into your tower, and also placing boxes behind your ranged minions for the ADC's safety against engaged supports. SHACO plays best into engaged teams and can lose to both poke and sustain if played poorly. SHACO is very effective against hook based champs such as Nautilus, Blitzcrank and Thresh. If timed correctly, you can eat these hooks and deceive, or you could place boxes in between the hooker and the hookee. This is the more safer option, but much less cool. Alright, laning is pretty fucking boring, which is why I play support. So I intend to spend as little time babysitting as possible. Even though the deceive range seems rather short, it can be stretched over many of the Rift's largest walls. This makes SHACO an incredibly mobile champ. With the invisibility, this enables you to stay unseen around the map. SHACO, even from early levels 2 or 3, can be one of the most effective gankers in the game. Being able to roam and skirmish with the mid and jungler and still hold your own against early game champ is great. SHACO can use these early timers to give your ADC some solo XP and contest early crabs, buffs and neutral objectives around the map. Practically once you've hit level 6, the Rift is your oyster. Go have fun. SHACO's Q gives him incredible mobility. Hopefully I can show off some gank routes with this small montage. SHACO, usually being a jungler, can naturally take neutral objectives with ease. Simply just have your clone stand closest to the monster and place your boxes on the outer radius so they don't tank and die. As you might have read with the Jack in the Boxes tooltip, it also deals bonus damage to monsters. SHACO's boxes allow him to annoy enemies across the map, even in their own jungle. Here are some areas that I place boxes in the different quadrants. These will be highly congested areas of the jungle and should trigger most times. Any box that covers multiple choke points, say having 2 or 3 entrances to the box, will either trigger, deter enemies, or force oracle lenses. In terms of combos, SHACO doesn't really have too many, it's more about playing around his boxes and capitalising on enemy mistakes. SHACO can, however, throw his E and Q to the target to auto-attack for some quick burst damage. Doing this same combo, but adding the Hail of Blades 3 autos into it, can extend this damage by a lot. Alright, but this one right here, this is it. Locking down any immobile ADC or mage with the Everfrost Fair combo. Simply just rooting your enemy in range of a box gives plenty of time for you and your team to pump as much damage into that high value target as possible. Finally, we'll discuss a few tricks for SHACO. I know you're itching from the very intro to learn how to bug your clone to worm like that. You'll probably very rarely ever use this trick in an actual game. But here's how you do it. Remember how we said in the ultimate section how you can micro the clone through alt right clicking? Well, you'll be wanting to wait for your clone to stand up from his worm dance and then alt right click to move. He will then be locked in the worm animation. The next trick that I have revolves around his boxes, as these can be affected by spells for 2 seconds before the stealth timer hits. You're able to place boxes on blast cones and pop them a short distance. Here's a little shorts clip of me doing this. Go follow your boy on all your preferred shorts platforms. Linktree in the description below. Alright, and the last trick that I have for you showcases how SHACO becomes untargetable in the short window of his ultimate cast. Now when timing this correctly, SHACO can evade damage from many sources as he becomes untargetable. Alright then, that's about all I got for you. Go ahead, drop a like if you enjoyed it, sub for future SHACO and off-meta support content. We're just under 50 subs at the moment, so if you want to help me hit that milestone, drop a sub as well. Stay in the loop. Comment below if you have any extra tips to add. I'd love to fucking hear it, mate. Thank you all for your time, man. Have fun with SHACO. Good luck in your games. Much love.